Hi everyone, I'm back for another episode of Let's Talk About It with Payton Petersen, a freshman at Louisville. Payton, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to be here.
I'm on my way out of college athletics as a grad student, and hearing about your experience as a freshman and specifically at Louisville is awesome. And like, it's so crazy that we played each other, and
I
now we're like,
know.
now we're like talking on the phone and just like catching up and everything. Can you give us like just some background on you, where you're from, and how you got to Louisville?
Yeah. So my name is Payton Petersen. I am from a small town in Iowa. I grew up in a volleyball family. My mom is the head coach at the University of Northern Iowa. I have two older sisters who are twins, and they grew up volleyball. They're 6 years older than us, so we followed in their footsteps, watched them. I also have a twin sister. So when I say we, that's what I mean.
Is it all sisters in
Yeah,
your
I have all sisters, three
Oh
sisters.
my gosh, that's so cool. So it's like kind of like you're kind of prepared for like a team. Like you almost have like a
Yeah.
volleyball team like at home, which is like so cool.
Yes, yep.
How has your sisters or like your mom being a coach influenced your transition getting into Louisville? Like it's really common for freshmen to really, really struggle. Like
hmm
were they able to help with that at all?
Yes, it was huge because I know kind of what coaches are thinking, having my sisters, how players are thinking, and knowing that it's okay to have a bad day.
Yeah.
It's not going to be perfect, especially the first month, 2 months. Like,
Mhm.
I was like, can I pass a ball? So it's like the transition is definitely difficult, but being able to understand that it's not going to be perfect coming from a player side and a coach's side was something that was really helpful.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think my mom also focused on like she was never going to tell us something. We would always like ask her a question. I think
Okay.
that's really what like I'm so thankful that she did and something that she did super well. I think she played a like an important role of not being honest too much, but also knowing like if we needed help, she was there. And
Yeah.
then obviously in college, like you kind of have a little more like not freedom, but like they're not going to be like if you make one error, they're not going to be like you need to do this next time.
Yeah.
They're not always harping on you, and I think that kind of coaching style is something that I like thrive off of, and like I think a lot of people do.
That's such an important part of college in general.
Mhm.
Like actually in volleyball, like you kind of have to start making decisions a little bit for yourself. Like, okay, what extra reps am I going to do? Am I going to take care of how am I going to take care of my body? Am I going to eat right? Like all those different things. But
Right.
then also from outside of the court, there's also like, everything else that you're doing and dealing with. How has that independence impacted you throughout, the last semester and a half?
Yeah. So moving away from home, obviously it's hard because I come from such a tight family. So obviously I miss them, but I've been very independent a lot of my life. And so it's kind of nice to be a step away from home and have to figure things out myself. Obviously, you have to do your own laundry. You have to make supper for yourself. That's my least favorite. Is like
Yeah.
any things to eat. I swear.
No one talks about how much time goes into figuring out what you're going to be eating and
It's
cooking and all that.
Yeah, I know it's hard, but I think that transition has been smooth, which has been very helpful. Like if that was tough, obviously the playing, the school, and all that stuff gets more difficult.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
I also have amazing roommates. So
yeah.
it really is helpful. Like our freshman class is awesome and to have them do it with me is just special.
I want to talk about Louisville. I feel like you guys had an amazing season. I always was like, oh my gosh, it'd be so cool. They have first serve in Louisville and then make it all the way to national championships. Like, I'm so happy that happened. It was like, I know it didn't end the way anyone wanted, but what a cool season. So I just want to hear more about like why you chose Louisville.
Yeah. So I chose Louisville because it stood out in the way that the culture was, the people are, the resources they have. Like even in club days or high school days, like you're like, oh, I gotta go to practice
Yeah.
now. But I genuinely am not like, oh my gosh, I gotta go to practice again. Like I genuinely love it because the people are so awesome. I guess that's not really why I chose because I didn't know it yet. But like when I went on a visit, I could feel like
Yeah.
that's what it was. And I could just feel that even though people were fighting for the same position, like they actually like cared about each other and wanted each other to get better. And so I think that's a big thing because then it causes drama or people think that and think that. And I genuinely think here people want you to be the best you can and obviously they want to be the best they can.
That's so important. And we're going to talk about all of that specific team stuff and advice for players and coaches and what they can do to build that environment. But you brought it up, so let's get into that with the
Yeah.
competition. For those who haven't heard about Peyton this season, like you had like a crazy like moment in the media, and but also just for your volleyball career, like let's not ignore the fact that this was like your actual life and experience you had. Louisville was playing in the Final Four match, and one of their or your captain and one of your most famous players, Anna DeBeer, went down with an injury. She was an outside, and so were you, and you went in for her and had a great match. Let's do the whole story. So let's start with going into the season. What did you feel like your role on the team was?
My role so far, obviously, it changed from different points in the season. One time I was playing right back and right side. One time I'm serving for the middle, and then sometimes I'm playing outside. And I think just being able to be versatile and understand that at any moment you can be put in for any situation. Obviously, it was hard to mentally prepare for that, but I knew that if my name was called, that I was going to be ready. I think our coaches did a wonderful job of preparing me for those situations. They would put me in situations in practice. They put me in situations in a game that I could play so that I'm prepared for when my name is called on.
That's amazing that you kind of felt prepared for it. I
Mm-hmm.
think that's so important. It can be stressful to be a starter and know, hey, this is exactly what's about to happen and I have to be ready for it. But I feel like no one really talks about kind of that back stress too of the players who are kind of going in and out of the game, or you don't really know what your exact role is going to be that day.
Yeah, I think the people surrounding me were a huge part of it. I knew that like whoever I was going in for or the people on the bench that they were going to support me, come out for a timeout, they tell me, "Hey, you got it. Good job. Good pass." Whatever it is to give me the confidence that I needed going into the game. So I
Yeah,
think that was huge, the people surrounding me.
I love that. Do you have any tips and tricks for the audience who are in a similar situation?
I think just having confidence in the work that you put in. Obviously, it's game time. You can't worry about anything else, but we talk about the bottom of the pyramid is the past and your past performance, the reps that you put in. The second level is how are you talking to yourself? Are you coming in here and being like, "Oh, am I going to get a serve in or I'm
Uh,
going to get the serve in?" The top tier is what other people are helping you about. Obviously, that helps so much, but if you don't have those first two layers, then you can't get the top. And if someone says that to you, it's not going to matter.
That's such a good point. Oh my gosh, that's such a good point. Like it took me a really long time to realize that and to kind of understand that, and I'm still figuring it out. So now, like going into a Final Four situation,
Hmm.
what were kind of those emotions and things that you were working through during that time?
Obviously, going into the game, you're like, there's a slim chance you get in. Like,
Yeah,
that's probably what my mentality was, but I knew that slim chance I had to be ready. Obviously, playing in the big stage is different than any other game, and I think obviously it's an added pressure. But in the moment, I'm gonna be honest, I didn't really look around.
good.
Everyone's always like, make sure you look around and enjoy it, and I'm like, I am not looking around.
If I look around, I'm gonna freak out.
Yeah, yep, exactly. So I think that's like the preparation that I had going on before the semifinal.
Afterwards, everyone's kind of flooding you. Like things were all over social media and Instagram, and people were asking you things, and there's comments and all of that. It's got to be weird.
Yeah, it was really weird. Just like people are texting me, like, oh, you're all over my TikTok. Oh, like you're all over my Instagram feed. And like, yeah, it's pretty cool and pretty special because not everyone gets the chance to do that and to even play like in a Final Four to play in college. And not that I was wrapped up in it, but I was like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Like my name's out there, and then you have to kind of think back and be like, okay, be like you got to stay humble, you got to keep working, and because obviously when it's you feel good, like you're on top of the mountain. When you aren't playing your best, obviously you're really down, and people are going to tell you about it. So I
Mhm.
think staying away from the comment section is a great idea, but obviously I felt very like loved and appreciated. Even family back home like reaching out to me, like show people like a small town girl from Iowa can do this, and I think that was pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it is really cool. One thing I was thinking about is like it's a weird experience among a team. Like with NIL, with all those different things. Like you might have teammates that are really, really well known. They're gonna go top in the draft or, whatever it's gonna be. Like they're gonna be on the national team. And then you can have a like teammate who like never saw the court and has like 1,000 Instagram followers. And it can be like a really weird experience. And you can get really wrapped up in it. And it's like if you're not playing and you don't have that attention and that kind of following, like it can be a really, I can imagine like a lonely experience.
And I think obviously like this year was really special because we did have those veterans and we did have those people that were obviously well known in the volleyball world. And then we had like fresh faces that were ready to work. And I will forever be grateful for our seniors that we had. They genuinely made this experience fun and genuinely like cared about their their underclassmen. That's pretty cool when you're end of the year in your fifth year and you're almost getting out of college to want to help a freshman who's just getting into college be the best they can. So I think that just speaks volumes about not only her but also the program and what they've been able to build.
Mental health in athletics or just like performance in athletics it's a big buzzword, but it's also very real. What are the resources that you guys have at Louisville for mental health? What have you seen?
Yeah, so we have mental performance coaches who obviously work on your mentality during the game, during practice, all that stuff. And then we have mental health people where they're more like daily life. They can check on you if you have daily life problems or your mentality is not good there. So I think separating those two is huge because sometimes they can be put together and sometimes they are put together, but having a mentality for your sport compared to your well-being are two different things. So I think that's pretty special to have both of those things in our program.
That's amazing. And then you talked about well-being. Like, how do you define well-being for yourself?
Oh, that's a good question. Well-being is not all this like, oh, I'm perfect, I'm having this awesome life. Like I think a lot of people are like, oh, if I'm doing well, like I'm happy, I'm not struggling, I'm in the best mental state of my entire life. I think that that's not what well-being is. My mom talks a lot about like you're gonna make mistakes. Everyone makes mistakes, but like how do you handle those mistakes? And obviously you can plummet them and you can make them the biggest thing in the world, or you can be like, all right, I get to try again tomorrow. That's how I would describe well-being. Is not that I'm living this perfect, happy, joyous life, but well-being is, yeah, I'm happy, but like if something does happen that I am able to like fix that and my mind is not like woo all the time.
We talked so much about how you've grown throughout this year and all of the different things that have shaped you. What makes this college experience like so different from club?
Yeah, so I actually came from a smaller club, and so we only practice 2 times a week. And then there's like, when you go to club tournaments and you're tired and you're like, all right, it's day 3, I'm tired. I feel like it's the opposite in college. Obviously, you get tired, your body gets tired, 2-a-days are tiring, but you're able to have the resources to try to get a fresh body than you were in club, kind of beating your body to the ground.
No, you're right. Like in club, like there really aren't those extra resources.
Yeah.
You just go to club practice and you go to tournaments and you leave. Like most clubs, they don't have strength training resources. They don't really have physical therapy. They don't have mental health resources, or even just like, it doesn't even have to be like, okay, no club is like going to hire like a whole psychologist.
Right.
So, like, even just like resources or downloads or like something that would help student athletes or just like help these club girls kind of like learn these principles before they get shipped off to college, because not everyone is as lucky to have a super supportive program.
Yeah, for sure.
Payton, thank you so much for coming on the show today, for being vulnerable, for talking about your life and just having a good time with me. I appreciate you coming.
Of course, yes, I enjoyed it. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Hey guys, it's Sydney. I hope you enjoyed this episode of Let's Talk About It, sponsored by The Zone, the wellness co-pilot for sports organizations. For more info on The Zone, check out itsthezone.com or itsthezone on Instagram, and I'll see you guys next week.